Hello, welcome back to the show, everyone. You're listening to Rent a Place and Rental Solutions, where we tackle all things renting, finding a place, avoiding scams, negotiating rent, and everything in between. I'm your host, John, and today we're diving into some real-life rental stories. We've all heard horror stories about bad landlords, nightmare tenants, and the struggles of securing the perfect rental. But we've also got some inspiring stories of people who found creative solutions to rental problems. Stay tuned because today's episode is packed with valuable insights, expert tips, and of course, some entertaining stories from real renters just like you. Let's get started. Finding the perfect rental can be like dating. You think you found the one, but then red flags start popping up. Our first story comes from Lisa, a young professional who thought she found a dream apartment until she realized it was too good to be true. Story 1. The too good to be true deal. Lisa found a spacious two-bedroom apartment in a prime location for half the average rent. The landlord was too busy to meet in person and asked for a deposit via wire transfer. Lisa was skeptical, but the fear of missing out got to her. She sent the money. The landlord disappeared, the listing vanished, and Lisa was left without a place, and without her savings. This is a common scam. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. Always visit the place in person, verify the landlord's identity, and never send money before signing a lease. Story 2. The last-minute rental miracle. Chris, a student, needed a rental before school started. Every decent listing was taken. With days to spare, he turned to social media and posted about his rental struggle. A friend of a friend connected him to a landlord looking for a responsible tenant. Chris not only got the place, but also negotiated a student discount on rent. Sometimes networking can be the best way to find a rental. Don't be afraid to ask around. Now let's talk about landlords. Some are great, but others, not so much. Our next two stories highlight both ends of the spectrum. Story 3. The landlord who wouldn't fix anything. Michael rented an apartment that looked fine until he moved in. The heating didn't work, the sink leaked, and the front door lock was broken. The landlord ignored his calls and refused to fix anything. Michael learned his rights, sent a legal notice, and eventually got repairs, or else the landlord would face fines. This is why knowing tenant rights is crucial. If your landlord refuses to maintain the property, you may have legal options. Look up tenant laws in your area. Story 4. The best landlord ever. Anna had a landlord who genuinely cared. When Anna lost her job, her landlord gave her a grace period on rent. He even helped connect her with job leads in the area. Now, Anna's back on her feet, and she's stayed in the same place for 5 years. There are good landlords out there. Communication and mutual respect can go a long way. Reading a lease is like reading the terms and conditions. We often skip it, but we really shouldn't. Our next two stories show why. Story 5. The surprise rent hike. Jake signed a lease without reading the fine print. 6 months later, his rent increased by 25%. Turns out, the lease allowed the landlord to raise rent without notice. Always read your lease. Ask about renewal terms, rent increases, and hidden fees. Story 6. The non-refundable security deposit. Emma was promised her security deposit back when she moved out. The landlord later claimed cleaning fees and wear and tear deductions. Emma had taken photos before moving in, proof that she left the place spotless. With evidence, she got her full deposit back. Take photos when you move in and move out. It could save you hundreds. Segment 4. Rental Solutions and Pro Tips. 200 to 25500. Background music fades in. So how do you avoid these rental nightmares? Here are some expert-backed solutions. Finding a place. Quickly, use multiple rental platforms, check local groups, and ask around. Avoiding scams. Never pay up front without seeing the place. Verify the landlord's identity. Negotiating rent. If the price is too high, ask for a discount based on long-term commitment. Tenant rights. Know what repairs your landlord is legally required to fix. Security deposit tips. Always document the condition of the place before and after moving. Segment 5. The future of renting. Trends and smart solutions. All right, before we wrap up, let's take a look at the future of renting. The world of rentals is evolving fast. Technology, changing laws, and new living trends are shaping how we find and rent places. If you're thinking about renting in the next few years, these trends might just change the game for you. Story 7. Co-living, a new trend for affordable renting. What if I told you that renting doesn't have to mean living alone or dealing with bad landlords? Co-living spaces are becoming super popular, especially in expensive cities. And that's exactly what Mark discovered when he moved to New York. Mark was struggling to find an affordable studio in NYC. Everything was too expensive. He found a co-living space where rent included utilities, Wi-Fi, cleaning services, and a furnished room. Instead of a traditional landlord, he had community managers who actually cared. He made new friends, saved money, and never had to worry about maintenance issues. Co-living is growing fast. It's perfect for young professionals, digital nomads, and people who don't want to deal with traditional rentals. If you're struggling to find a place, co-living could be the future for you. All-inclusive rent, utilities plus services, built-in community, great for networking and friendships, flexible leases, short-term and long-term options. Story 8. Smart homes and AI-powered rentals. Imagine renting a place where your phone controls everything: locks, lights, temperature, even maintenance requests. That's exactly what happened to Sophia when she moved into a smart rental. Sophia moved into a fully smart apartment. No keys, no paper contracts. Rent was paid through an app and repairs were scheduled automatically. The smart thermostat adjusted based on her habits, saving her $40 per month on utilities. But her biggest shock? The AI property manager predicted issues before they happened, fixing things before she even noticed. This is the future. More landlords are investing in smart home tech to attract renters. Here's what to expect in the next few years. Smart locks and keyless entry. No more lost keys. AI-powered maintenance. Your rental fixes itself. Automated rent payments. Say goodbye to late fees. Story 9. Renting in the metaverse? All right, this one's a little wild, but hear me out. What if you could rent a place in the metaverse? Sounds crazy, right? But it's already happening. Virtual properties are being rented out for digital events, meetings, and even VR co-living spaces. People are paying real money for digital apartments in places like Decentraland and the Sandbox. Some companies are exploring metaverse rental agreements where your real-world lease includes virtual space. Now, will we all be renting digital apartments in the future? Maybe, maybe not. But it's proof that renting is evolving fast, and it's always good to stay ahead of the game. Final rental predictions and pro tips. All right, let's wrap this up with some final predictions for the future of renting. 1. More digital rental platforms. Paper leases, a thing of the past. 2. Flexible living options. Short-term, co-living, and furnished rentals will become the norm. 3. Smarter rental laws. More protections for tenants against unfair landlords. 4. Sustainable rentals. Eco-friendly apartments will be in high demand. And, of course, the best advice? Stay informed, be cautious, and always read your lease before you sign. That's a wrap for today's episode. We've heard some wild rental stories, learned valuable lessons, and picked up practical tips for renting smart. Don't forget to subscribe for more episodes where we'll dive into topics like negotiating rent, co-living situations, and tenant rights. Until next time, happy renting.